Hello everyone, Stormer1 here. Today we'll be updating on our storm system that's expected to roll into Kentucky tonight and into Sunday, which will bring some snow across a good chunk of the state, and we'll have brutal cold temperatures falling behind that as well for early to mid next week. So we're going to get started with the watch warning advisory display across the country, and we do see some winter weather alerts out there. We got cold weather advisories, even extreme cold warnings across parts of the northern plains and the upper Midwest, and that's the Arctic air blast that's going to be coming down into Kentucky early next week. And we got some winter weather advisories, even some winters, maybe even a couple winter storm warnings down along the Rocky Mountains. But if we go off towards the east, we got winter storm watches from the mountains of West Virginia and all the way up into parts of New England up there. And then meanwhile in the Ohio Valley, this kind of this greenish color here, which includes a good chunk of Ohio, southeastern Indiana, most of West Virginia and southwestern Virginia, and even including parts of northern and northeastern Kentucky. That is an extreme cold watch, which is the first time we've ever seen that type of watch here in the Ohio Valley and even parts of Kentucky. It's part of their new thing they got going on when they renamed some of the cold weather products. Like, if this would have been the old product, this would have been a wind chill watch. And it's now been renamed to an extreme cold watch. So that's what's going on there. Similar criteria to the older version as well. But we're going to talk about that extreme cold that's going to be coming in, or brutal cold, I should say, coming in here in a few minutes. Current temperatures right now, as of 8:50 Eastern Time, it is pretty mild in western Kentucky. A lot of 50s out there. Surely does feel very nice. Even in the 40s, it felt pretty nice out there today. But them colder valleys across northern and eastern Kentucky, it's getting cold. Some areas have already gone below freezing in those colder valleys, especially if you still got some snow on the ground in those colder valleys. But let's talk about those high temperatures today. You can see we were pretty darn mild across northern and east. Well, generally northern Kentucky was in the low to mid 40s. 50s across the south, or generally south of 64. And then look at western Kentucky. Got a high of 61 degrees from Christian County. I believe those are the first 60s of 2025. And I bet that felt really good out there, seeing some 60s. And unfortunately, we're not going to see these temperatures again for a while. At the same time, though, we do have some rain moving across western Kentucky. All this rain here is going to move across the rest of the state all tonight. So some periods of light to moderate rainfall. This can also help melt some of the snowpack we still got out there across parts of Kentucky. Now, by tomorrow, if we look into the high-risk Canadian model, here's that rain moving into western Kentucky and eventually spreading across the rest of the state. And that rain does lighten up tomorrow. It's going to become more showery, generally scattered in nature, maybe a little more numerous in a couple places. But it's not going to be all-day rains tomorrow. But it will get colder as the day goes on, because that Arctic cold front is coming through Kentucky at the same time. And also, we got a storm system that's going to be forming off to our south. And when that happens, we got some snow developing on the backside of this Arctic front. And with this low pressure system strengthening as it moves off to the northeast, this is Sunday morning. And check this out. 1,003 millbar low in southwestern Virginia. And look at that snow on the backside of this here. All of a sudden, you got periods of light to even at times moderate snow across central and eastern Kentucky. And that forms into a pretty big storm in the northeast. And there could be several inches of snow across parts of the mid-Atlantic and northeast as that storm continues to strengthen up there. And we can have some snow flurries and snow showers continuing even into Monday morning, especially for eastern Kentucky. If you look at the ISO bars here, could be some strong winds Sunday night, which could create some blowing snow across some roadways out there. And you can also see some of this moisture is actually coming from Lake Michigan. If you can kind of follow the ISO bars, you can see the moisture from Lake Michigan actually makes it down towards central and eastern Kentucky. So that's where our flurry chance really comes from. But also, anytime where you got a northerly or a northwesterly wind in Kentucky, because of higher elevation than eastern Kentucky, you do create a little extra lift in the atmosphere. So it's a little bit easier to get snow in eastern Kentucky than it is for the rest of the state. So geography definitely impacts how the weather goes in eastern Kentucky than the rest of the state. But let's start talking about some snowfall numbers. We're at that range where we can comfortably talk about some snowfall numbers out there. And if you remember from the last video, the Harris Canadian has been the most consistent model out there. And it still continues to do so today. You can see here the Harris Canadian, if it's correct, it's a winter storm across central and eastern Kentucky. And if you don't know what winter storm criteria is in Kentucky, it's 4 inches or more. I think it's a little bit bullish in my opinion. Sometimes the Harris Canadian could be a little bit of an overkill on snow. I don't think any area is going to see 7 inches of snow out there, but I can very well see some areas getting up around 4 inches of snow. So that winter storm potential does exist on the system here, but I think the best chance of that is going to be in eastern Kentucky, which I'll show my snowfall forecast here in a few moments. Let's check out some other models. The rapid refreshes came into range, and you can see it's a little more bullish on the snow, especially further back to the west compared to some other models you're going to see here in a few moments. But you can see here across central and eastern Kentucky, generally 2 to 4 inches of snow. Western Kentucky, anywhere from about a coating to maybe upwards of 2 inches out there. And that's the rapid refresh. If we go to the HRRR, which is actually the newest run of the HRRR model here, and you can see here, not as aggressive as the Harris Canadian, though I do think it's running a little bit too dry for my liking. But you can still see here there's a general 1 to 3 inches of snow with some locally higher amounts in eastern Kentucky. You can see some areas picking up maybe upwards of 4 inches of snow in some of those areas. And you can see how the totals kind of decrease the farther west you go. Overall, not bad, but I think it's a little dry in my opinion. And here's the NAM. And if you guys remember from yesterday, the NAM showed no snow anywhere in Kentucky. Now it does. And look at this. You got a general 2 to 4 inches across eastern Kentucky. Lower amounts the farther west that you go out there. So we're finally starting to see a better agreement with the models, which is increasing our confidence out there. Another very consistent model is the Canadian model, and it's pretty similar to the Harris Canadian. Still shows a pretty good hit of snow, probably a little bit overdone, but you still are talking about a pretty decent hit of snow, with some areas potential reaching winter storm criteria. And last but not least is the American model. It's a little bit further southeast, but it has been trending northwest over time, and I do believe that's going to continue. And you can see here it's got a general 2 to 4 inches of snow across south central and southeastern Kentucky, with some higher amounts possibly in the higher elevations of far southeastern Kentucky, lower amounts the farther west that you go. So here's my forecast for snow Saturday night and into Sunday. You can see here areas in the white color, which includes a large chunk of western Kentucky, and it follows up along the I-71 corridor up into Cincinnati. That's generally a coating to 1 inch. It is possible some areas may not get any extra snow on the ground, but I think a good chunk of these folks can get that. In the areas in far western Kentucky like Mayfield and Paducah, some snowflakes will fly, but I don't think it's going to amount to much. Moving along a little bit further east, generally along and east of Interstate 65, or I should say generally east of 65, could be anywhere from 1 to 2 inches. That would include E-Town, Bardstown, Campbellsville, Glasgow, Columbia, Russell Springs, Monticello, Shelbyville, Frankfort, and up into Maysville in that 1 to 2 inch zone. And then in the darkest blue shade, which is basically the Bluegrass region in points east and southeast, is where we could see anywhere from 2 to 4 inches of snow. That would include places like Lexington, Georgetown, Danville, Somerset, London, Corbin, Williamsburg, Middlesbrough, Hazard, Pikeville, Moorhead, and Ashland. And those areas could see, then again, 2 to 4 inches of snow. And you also see that plus sign right there. That's an indication that some areas may see locally higher amounts. Not everybody's going to get, up to 5 inches, but there's going to be isolated places that some could get a little over 4 inches of snow. And that's where that winter storm potential may come from. But I think right now the winter storm potential is on the low side right now because it's not looking to be a widespread event. But that could change as we get closer because the last day or so, models have been trending closer to the Canadian models, which are, of course, the most bullish models in terms of the snow. So we'll see how that progresses tonight and into tomorrow. And then again, changes are possible. But I'm pretty confident with this forecast for tonight. And here's the National Weather Service forecast. And you can see here, they got everybody in the state with a chance of snow. Even in far western Kentucky like Paducah and Murray, it could be up to a trace of snow. But you can kind of see where the highest amounts are going to be. And that's generally in eastern Kentucky. And they even got the potential for 5-inch amounts out there. So that's where your winter storm potential could exist. If anybody sees winter storm type of snow, which is around 4 inches, it's likely to be east of Interstate 75 or even south of Interstate 64. And then again, totals go down the farther west and north that you go. And you can see how big some of these ranges are. They got Lexington, trace of 3 inches. I'm not really comfortable with that range. I think that range is way too big. I even seen on a different graphic having Danville anywhere from a trace to 4 inches of snow. Then again, I'm not the biggest fan of the ranges that they put out here, but overall, I don't think it's that bad of a forecast, and it kind of fit, and it's a little bit in line with mine, especially in eastern Kentucky. And then behind the snow is going to be some brutal cold air, like we were talking about earlier with that extreme cold watch across parts of northern and northeastern Kentucky. Temperatures are going to get that cold. So let's talk about this. So this is getting into tomorrow. Your high temperatures tomorrow is actually going to be early in the day, especially across the north and west. So high temperatures for most of us will probably be either in the upper 30s to low 40s. So mid 40s across the south and southeast. I can now roll out some upper 40s out there considering how the temperatures continue to overperform. But here comes that Arctic front passing through here. You can see how those temperatures really drop. And this is getting to Sunday morning. There could be some temperatures in the low to mid 20s for Sunday morning, which is more than cold enough for snow. But also, when the temperatures are this cold, you'll get that more fluffy type of snow. And it's kind of a drier snow as well. So it doesn't really stick onto everything, but it can also accumulate on the roads and, of course, on grassy surfaces as well, and even on elevated surfaces. But when you get those stronger winds involved and where it's a dry snow, it's easy for that snow to get blown around. So we got to watch out for some blowing snow Saturday night and into Monday out there. And look at these temperatures here for Monday morning. North of 64, could be below 0 for temperatures. Most of the state in the single digits. With a couple places that may get into the low teens, but either way, it's brutally cold. And look at those low temperatures up in Indiana, Ohio, nearing 10 degrees below 0. And those areas up there still got a decent amount of snow on the ground, so that could very well be achieved. But those wind chills are going to make it feel even colder. You can see here those wind chills Sunday morning could certainly feel like the low teens, even some single digits out there. But here comes that cold air really settling in for Monday morning. And look at those wind chills. I mean, a good chunk of Kentucky could be below zero for a wind chill. Wind chills generally -10 to -15, really across parts of central and eastern Kentucky, and especially north of 64. And check out those wind chills up in Indiana and Ohio, where we got that extreme cold warning. Trying to spit out maybe numbers as close as -25, which that's some serious cold. And if we go back to the actual high temperatures for Monday, the temperatures are really gonna struggle. Now, I don't think we're going to be in the single digits for most of the day on Monday. I think we can get in the teens. I think highs for Monday would be in the mid to upper teens with some low 20s in western Kentucky, and maybe even parts of southern Kentucky as well. But it gets cold again. This is Tuesday morning here now. The European model believes there might be a little more cloud cover, so that could potentially save us from those very cold temperatures. But there's also going to be a storm system at the same time across our south, so it's very possible with that cloud cover coming over Kentucky that could really save us from us seeing some very cold temperatures. If we check out those wind chills Tuesday morning, it's still going to feel pretty cold out there. I mean, you can see those very cold values up across the north, up in Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. But down here in Kentucky could feel like the single digits with even some below zero readings across northern Kentucky. And as soon as that system there passes through, where we may get some clearing out there, we could go below zero for some low temperatures again. Though temperatures do trend a little bit milder in western Kentucky. And if we go back to wind chills for Wednesday morning, you can see there temperatures get very cold. And look at those brutal wind chills up in Ohio. I mean, I don't think northeastern Ohio is going to get close to -40. I don't see that happening. But regardless, though, this is some serious cold coming in here early to mid next week. And then we start to see some moderation for Thursday. This is Thursday morning lows, and you can see generally in the teens and even some low to mid 20s out there. And those are the high temperatures for Thursday. Generally in the 30s across central and eastern Kentucky, western Kentucky in the low 40s. That's a sign that the pattern is starting to change again. You get that southerly wind flow, your temperatures begin to warm up. And of course your wind chills are not going to be all that impressive for Thursday. And there might be another storm system for late next week, but we're not really going to get too deep into that, and we'll probably save that for later next week when models could get into a better agreement. But anyways, guys, that's all I got for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys like this video, hit that like button. If you really like my channel, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell notification so you never miss an upload. If you guys got any questions, you can put a comment section down below. I'll answer you guys questions. I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye and have a good day.